All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's video. We're going through my original content advertising strategy, the Venus flytrap. I originated this strategy all the way back in 2015 in the last marketing job that I ever had. I perfected this strategy over the years that followed between 2016, 2017, 2018, and I'm here today to present it to you in detail, everything revealed. I think that it's very beneficial and it's something that you're gonna find practical in different use cases. I'll go through when it's most appropriate. We'll cover the strategy. I'll go through specifics. And I think that it'll be a very valuable ad strategy that you can implement and add to your arsenal of options come time that it's appropriate for you to use. If you're already a subscriber to the channel, welcome back. It's always a pleasure to have you and give you more value, helping you on your journey to hitting $1 million months. If you're new here, that's all we talk about. $1 million months. You want to go big? This is the right channel for you. Go check out all my other videos after you watch this one. And if you find value in this, feel free to subscribe, like, comment. I appreciate all that. Thank you very much. Okay, let's dive in. So again, I consider myself a pioneer. Back in the day, I went in to the Facebook Ads Manager, to the audiences section, and I saw that you could retarget people who did all kinds of things in the platform. I saw you could remarket to people who took actions like messaging you, saving a post, interacting with your profile, literally just visiting your profile, pressing a button on an ad video. And I saw this other thing that you could do, same stuff on Instagram. But then I saw videos. I saw that you could retarget people, or at least put people into specific audiences and segment them who watch 3 seconds, 10 seconds, 25%, 50%, 75%, 95% of any video. It could be an ad video, it could be a piece of content. So I thought to myself, well, this kind of seems like email marketing, but in the form of Facebook remarketing through people who watch specific videos. I took the concept of if this, then that logic, which is commonly done in marketing automation, email marketing, where contextually, I have the opportunity to start off by segmenting people based on what they did or did not do, and then I could communicate to people based on what they did or did not do. And I could specifically craft a sequence via emails that could handle people contextually for where they're at in the sales process. And I could also do that at scale because that's what marketing automation is all about. It gives you the leverage to take many people through the exact same process at many different instances of your sales process. So when I went into the Facebook Ads Manager and I saw, holy shit, I could remarket people based on what they did or did not do in terms of video view time, in terms of all this social interaction, I immediately thought to myself, this is way back, keep in mind, it's way back in like 2015, 9 years ago from the time I'm filming this video right now. And this strategy's been fucking copied, renamed, it's actually hilarious if I sat here and name dropped the different people out there that have attempted to, claim this strategy as their own. But you're listening to the fucking OG, okay? So again, we've spent, I'm not even gonna make up a number, but I know for sure it's millions of dollars on this ad strategy. It is so effective in the right use cases. So allow me to break down the strategy from like an overarching perspective so you can understand it conceptually first before I go into all the specifics of it. Then I'm gonna help you understand use cases, and then from there we'll go into the tactics and like all the specifics of the strategy. So the Venus flytrap is very simple. I created a 3-step video sequence followed by direct response. And initially when I started my career, I was a marketing agency built mainly for personal brands with information products. Obviously through time, if you look at what we do today, we work with people who raise capital, we work with any kind of service or product-based business that's a high-ticket product that has a probability to get to more than $1 million a month net. We by no means just work in the info product space anymore. But again, that's where we started. That's our roots. So that's originally where I crafted and made this strategy specific to. Through time, we've expanded it and used it in plenty of other niches where it's appropriate. All I did was I considered, rather than just running direct response to people first, I should make sure that they watched a certain threshold of about 3 videos. And then I'd show them the direct response. I wonder what that would do. So I went out of my way and I crafted, with very specific videos in mind, an intro video, a second and a third video that have their purpose I'll explain here shortly, followed by the direct response, and then some standard remarketing along with some content remarketing alongside of that. And it proved so effective, it shocked the shit out of me. Nobody was doing it, not a soul on earth knew about it. This was during a period of time, way back in 2015, where people didn't even have pixels on their website yet. Nobody even knew what standard like website remarketing was or how to exploit it. So this was way ahead of its time, and it still is very effective today, but under very specific use cases. So to be clear, not every niche requires a sequence of content prior to hitting them with the direct response ads. You are willingly choosing to add friction to your advertising process. You're adding additional steps willingly, and you are going to see a degradation of the quantity of people that go through each one of these steps. Allow me to explain with a visual here. So to be clear, on both Facebook and Instagram, ideally nowadays, like if you did this in 2024, 2025 and onward, the way that you would do it ideally is you would post the video directly to Instagram as a reel. You'd optimize for reels. However, I just want to be very fair in saying I've done this with videos that are like 10 to 20 minutes long. You know, I've done this with podcast videos that are exceptionally long in length for each one of these videos in the process. In that case, I can only post it to Facebook directly because obviously there's cutoffs and time limits for what we can post directly to Instagram in terms of length. So again, if I did this today, which to be fair, when we do it today, we post a reel on Instagram, we optimize it for cross-posting to Facebook. That way we can use both placements. That's if we're posting these videos direct to the feed on the person's profile that we're running these pieces of content from. A lot of the times as well, we use them as dark posts, which just means we're going straight into the ads manager, and instead of publishing it to the person's page directly, we're just publishing it from the ads manager so they can click to the profile and look at all the other person's content. But again, it's not actually on the person's profile when you go and click through to it. It's a dark post, okay? I digress. Point being, you take these 3 pieces of content and you sequence them. So what you're gonna do is, you're gonna pick the 3 videos, you're gonna go into the Facebook audiences section, you're gonna create a video view audience, and this is where you can play around with it a little bit, especially given the length of the video. If I optimized it for reels, meaning I have up to 90 seconds where somebody could watch a piece of content. If I took a 25% view through, okay, which might not sound like a lot, but let me give you some statistics directly from Facebook and Instagram's headquarters. On average, a person who uses Facebook and Instagram scrolls about 356 feet of content per day. If you know the Statue of Liberty here in the United States, that's from the top of the torch down to her toes, okay? That's 356 feet of content right there per day, post by post. The average attention span per post, per piece of content that comes across their feed is 1.8 seconds on average, okay? So to be fair, if I have a 90-second video and somebody even watches 10 seconds of it, that's 5 times the length that they give an average post, okay? I want to be fair in saying you should be dynamic with what length you determine should be used in your sequence here, okay? So let me give you an example so you can understand specifically the ramifications of choosing longer lengths versus shorter lengths, okay? So let's say I have my 3 videos here, and again, I'm sequencing them. That means that somebody who watches video 1 up to the threshold I define is then allowed to see video 2. The person who watches a certain threshold of video 2 is then allowed to see video 3. The person who watches a certain threshold of video 3 is then allowed to then start getting hit by our direct response ads, where we're making our call to actions for them to become a lead, to book a call, to go buy something, etc. Okay? Now, the threshold, meaning are you going to use 3 seconds, 10 seconds, 25%, 50%, 75%, or all the way up to 95% for your definitive threshold that somebody has to watch before they get to the next level. I generally default to about 25% if it's a reel, because again, that's usually, give or take the length of your reel, anywhere from 20 to 30 times the average attention that they're giving per post. That to me acknowledges interest and that the person should go to the next video in the sequence. If you just have scaled data like we've accumulated over the years on content distribution, because we run a tremendous amount of content advertising strategies that I've created over the years that are unique to me. And I've spent, again, don't know the exact number, not gonna make it up like all these other dickheads who lie about it, but again, it's millions and millions of dollars that we've spent on content distribution. What you'll see very consistently is that at the start of your video, that's where you're gonna get the most attention, and then as the video goes on, the attention goes down dramatically. So you might have, as an example, for that first 3 seconds, the highest quantity of people that are retargetable. You also have what's called a through play nowadays, which is a 15-second view. From there, that's generally where, keep in mind, you also have the 10-second video view as well in between these two, and this is where you then have 25, 50, 75, and 95% that you have the opportunity to retarget. Now, from that perspective, when you go in, and again, you've spent the amount of money that we've had over the years on content distribution, you know that this pattern's very true. I don't necessarily just want to target the people that are in this first 3-second threshold. I don't even really like to target the people who are in the first 15 seconds of the threshold. Because again, although yes, if they get to 10 seconds, that's 5 times the amount of attention that they give per post. Because again, 1.8 seconds is the amount of attention they give on average. So 5 times that is literally 10 seconds. That's still great. I want to be fair in saying that's still great, but you're not getting any key information across in the first 10 seconds of the video. You know what I mean? Like, you're not articulating anything in 10 seconds. Really, all you're getting off is your hook and then like barely anything in the meat that comes after the hook, okay? So although yes, 10 seconds is 5 times the amount of information, it's not that valuable. Same thing with 15 seconds. Again, really good, you know, about 7x the amount of attention that they give an average post, but still, you're not really getting a lot of information off on average in that time frame. The intention, okay, of the Venus flytrap is we put information in these first 3 videos that frame somebody for what we are going to talk to them about in our direct response ads and pitch them on. And this is where you get into use cases for like when it's technically best to run the Venus flytrap. I'll tell you when it's inappropriate and appropriate, okay? It's appropriate to run and it makes sense to run when the people that you are gonna actively pitch in your direct response ads have no idea about what you're talking about in your direct response ad. If there's like a new product that people don't necessarily identify they have a problem with. If you're doing mass market advertising, okay, where again, people might not identify as a customer of yours, they don't identify that they have the problem or whatever it is that you're specifically gonna sell in the direct response. If people just need framed on how it works, you're like, let me give you a great example. In modern day today, like literally right now, there are a lot of new rich people, okay? Like just here in Miami alone, where I'm sitting here talking to you now, there's a total of a little less than 500,000 people who live here. There's over 37,000 millionaires who live here, okay? When you drive around the city, it's like, I don't feel special in any way, shape, or form driving around in my Rolls Royce, you know, or I don't feel special driving around in one of my Ferraris. It's just honestly like a common thing down here. I mean, there's 37,000 other me's around here just balling out and just having fun and being very showy about it too. You know, it's not a city that conceals being rich, right? It's quite the opposite. It's really fun to be here, to be fair. But a lot of these people, they're like newer money. You know, they're not like trust fund kids. They didn't get educated by their parents in a financial way. You know, they didn't go to some school that educated them financially on whatever they need to know. They used the internet in most instances to create some cash flow. Most of these people also are starting the process of turning that into wealth. But like just that transition alone, from going from rich to wealthy, there's so much to know. I'll never forget when I first learned about overfunded whole life insurance policies, or when I started learning about CDs, you know, or when I just started learning about indices and like what type of investment strategy I should use. I'll never forget learning about cost segregation studies in real estate and how that can depreciate my tax bill to a lower amount. I didn't understand that the tax code was an incentive structure and it's built to tax me a lot when I'm selfish, and when I do the things that the government otherwise wants people to do but doesn't want to do themselves, they reward you with a lower tax burden. You know, if I invest in energy, I get a lower tax burden. These are all things that through self-education and my personal development journey, I've started to understand and learn and know about. Now, let me help you understand something in terms of when it's appropriate to run the Venus flytrap. Let's use the example that I have a wealth advisory firm, or let's say that I just have an education company or a tax strategy company where I can help people save on taxes, or I can create like estate planning and trusts and wills, or I'm just a general wealth advisor and I can help the person with all these things: estate planning, trusts, wills, tax strategy, insurance, you know, everything under the sun, okay? If I'm in that position and I'm talking to a market that's not yet educated on about what I'm selling, I can't just make the claim and say, hey, I can help you with your taxes, with estate planning, with trusts and wills, protecting your assets, increasing your cash flow through investments, and increasing your net worth. Like, these are things that somebody who's rich doesn't necessarily give a fuck about yet until they actively commit to the journey journey of I want to become wealthy, you're not really going to get a lot of interest from those people until they start the process of educating themselves on it. So what can we do? Well, we can run the Venus flytrap. We can have our very first video be a very key education video, just straight value, no fluff at all. Imagine the video starts with, so you're rich and you're trying to get a hell of a lot richer. You want to become wealthy. I'm going to tell you how you could lower your tax bill by hundreds of thousands a year, increase your net worth. I'm going to show you how you can sell a percentage of that net worth every year and get passive income from it. I'm going to show you how you can buy real estate that lowers your tax bill and gives you an opportunity to get cash flow. I'm going to make sure your family's set up for life through a proper estate planning, trust. We're going to get you set up with insurance policies that when you die are handed down to your beneficiaries through trusts so they get around probate court and having to fight for the money you want to leave them. I'm going to give you all that information in these following videos I have in a little bit here. Let me dive into it. All right. And even if, keep in mind, they just watch that first 25% and the other 75% of the video is the meat and potatoes there, where you actually start talking about all of those different pieces of information that I just described in the first couple seconds of the video. What that's going to give me the ability to do is retarget the people who now know I'm somebody who could help them with that problem. Okay. Now in video 2, let's use the example that the people who watched to that 25% mark in video 1, they now see a second video. Okay. And the second video, again, it's me as a talking head who has that type of company, but now I'm going to give an example of like a case study video where I'm like, okay guys, in today's video, I'm going to show you how we lowered Jeremy's tax burden by $700,000 a year, increased his annual cash flow hundreds of thousands of dollars. We put Jeremy in a position where if and when he ever dies, God forbid, he's going to hand down $8 million to his loved one and beneficiaries. They're not going to have to fight for it in probate court. They're going to get it handed down to them through an irrevocable life insurance trust. On top of that, all Jeremy's assets that he accumulated are protected from creditors. No one can ever sue Jeremy. He's good. He has Cook Island trusts that are set up in his name to protect his assets while he's alive and to hand them down to his beneficiaries. God forbid he dies. And on top of that, Jeremy's business is doing better than ever before. We're going to protect that from creditors through some general liability insurance. Let me go through the details of how we help Jeremy. Now, again, it's like the first 25% of the video there, I'm emphasizing some results that we just generated for Jeremy in this hypothetical scenario, okay? Now, the other 75% of the video is gonna be like a highly legitimate case study where I break down in detail more information. But again, when you keep in mind this right here, that a high quantity of these people are only gonna watch for that first 25%. They're gonna get cut off right here, okay? Everybody's more probable to watch from here over than they are to watch on this second half of the video. But the people who do watch the second half of the video, yeah, they're gonna love it. It's gonna be really valuable. They're gonna be better framed, sure. But the point is with the Venus flytrap, if I just remarket to that 25% threshold, I'm still emphasizing a point that I want to make sure is in the person's head before I reach the direct response. You see what I'm saying? Once I get to this point here where I'm actively saying, okay guys, if you want us to help you with XYZ, fill out this form, book a call, whatever it is, right? Before they get there, I just want to make sure the right information is in their head. And that's what the Venus flytrap accomplishes. It successfully plants the right frame. And then to be clear, come time the direct response happens, all that data is in their head for them to think with. They now give more of a fuck than they did prior to seeing the content. After seeing the content, they think to themselves, oh, this makes so much sense. Like, I do need this help. We're either creating a problem for people through the content, making them aware of a problem they didn't know they have, and or we're giving them the framing information that they need to identify as a potential customer when they previously wouldn't have done that. That's the intention of the Venus flytrap. Now, that third video could be several things. It could be the same logic as like, here's another example of a case study with a different set of problems that we have, but I like to use like a general expertise video at this point, where we go through some accolades, we talk highly of the business, we go through like anything that can build trust, help overcome objections, anything that would otherwise hold people back, we want to put in that third video, okay? This framing that you do in videos 1, 2, and 3, it's very strategic, okay? It does matter a lot in terms of what order you put them in, because remember, at the very first video, people don't know you, they don't give a fuck about you at all, and you've got to like introduce them to everything. The second video is like, okay, they've officially watched a particular threshold that you've defined in the first video. Second video should elaborate on you actually doing it and being successful with it and getting people results with it from what you talked about in the first video. The third video, again, can be an extension of the second video just from another case study's perspective on other services you've helped people do or another customer type that you've helped solve the same problems for just from a different angle. And or it should be like an expertise, kind of like trust and objection handling channeling type video, okay? Again, after they've watched 25% of video 1, that's when they go to video 2. After they've watched 25% of video 2, that's when they see video 3. After they've watched X percentage of video 3, that's when they go to the direct response. My favorite optimization is the 25% threshold. I think that's a lot better. And again, just in terms of like nuances, it's important you understand how this works. Every time that you look at this, all right, it's like you have the highest quantity of people that watch 25% of your vid 1, okay? This is where your budget goes to. Like you might be spending, as an example, I'm just gonna give an arbitrary number, like $300 a day on video 1. And remember, the intention is like, well, I've gotta accumulate enough people in each one of these steps to actually make my direct response ads serve in the first place. That's one of the most common mistakes that happens when you're running these. Okay, now video 2 is naturally gonna be a much smaller audience because it's only people who watched 25% of video 1. And then the people who watched 25% of video 2, well, I mean, again, that's gonna be even smaller for video 3 because by the time they get to video 3, it's like you lose people at each step. Now, again, by the time you get to the direct response ads, it's like, well, that's technically where you're gonna have the smallest quantity of people, but they should be extremely warmed up. Now, if I wrap all this around hitting $1 million months, I want you to understand, like, you wouldn't be spending $300 a day. You'd be spending upwards of like, let's call it $3,000 a day on video 1. And that's gonna get you an absolute fuckload of people who become retargetable to watching to the 25% threshold. Most likely, without exaggeration, tens of thousands of people a day are gonna become retargetable for video 2. Now, your budget degrades as you continue into the following steps. So as an example, if I have $3,000 on video 1, I might have $2,000 on video 2 per day, okay? Because again, I'm only remarketing the people who watch 25% of video 1, so my audience for video 2 is smaller. And then again, for video 3, I might only have $1,000 a day or less. Okay? Now, let me be very clear as a caveat to this, since I'm teaching you this on YouTube and I don't have back and forth interaction with you to answer all your questions, like I would with people who are in my Inner Circle program, where we do twice a month one-on-one calls, weekly group calls. We have masterminds every quarter, January, April, July, and October. We do them at the top of every quarter. And on top of that, we have a group chat full of rich people trying to get a hell of a lot richer. Advertisers, marketers, high-ticket business owners selling products or services, agencies. We help everybody in that group make a fuckload more money. And to be clear, most of the people are on their paths to hit $1 million months. Now again, with people I have interaction with, I can make sure they adjust their budgets dynamically. With somebody like you sitting here watching this YouTube video, I really want to make sure you understand this part. If you are failing to get enough people to the direct response ads, okay, you might, by the way, still be able to spend $1,000 a day on the direct response ads, because at this particular step, keep in mind, content is always exponentially, like hundreds of times more cost effective to spend and get reach for in comparison to taking somebody off the platform for a conversion event. Okay, conversion events, Facebook, any ad platform for that matter, you do the Venus flytrap on. Like you can do this, by the way, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, places that are optimized for shorts. I want to be fair in saying you technically could do it on YouTube, but I don't find it as effective on YouTube. Okay, I digress. My point being, if you're not getting enough reach on your second, third, or direct response step, you have to increase the budget. You have to get enough people from the previous step to get to the next step, okay? So there's one of two issues that occur here. You either have to increase your budget on the first video or on the previous step, given wherever your choke point is in your process, and or you have to increase the budget on the step where you're not getting enough reach. You have to spend into it more aggressively, okay? Now, content is extremely cost effective, okay? You might, as an example, for a 25% threshold, you might get somebody for a quarter or 50 cents to become retargetable. For your average video view, by the way, just in terms of a technical step, make sure that you optimize these campaigns for engagement, and then on the ad set level, you're gonna select video views and optimize for maximized through play, which means that you're gonna try to, on average, maximize the 15-second video view more than anything else, okay? That's the longest length of a video view you can optimize for. It's very effective to do so. Okay, now back to my point in terms of budget allocation. Just make sure you spend enough on each step to actually see enough people go to the following step. But remember, each step has less and less people. So like your first step has that many, your second step has that many, your third step has that many, and your direct response has that many. It should look like this, where it has like a natural degradation. Okay, you're doing it wrong if it looks like this as an example. Like you have to have enough people actively flowing through each step. It should be a small degradation per step, okay? And make sure you look at the numbers. When you go into your, when you're when you go into your ads manager, you want to drop your columns down to video engagement, and you want to see, okay, how many people did I get in the 25% view through threshold on video 1? How many people in the same date range, let's say for the first 3 days of running video 1, I have 20,000 people that watch 25%. Okay, well for video 2 in the following 3 days, if I don't see 20,000 people that are getting hit with that as an impression, I know I'm not spending enough on video 2. I want to spend more, okay? And vice versa for video 3. You also, just as a caveat, want to set up all 4 of these steps at the same exact time, because everybody's platform usage is different. When somebody's going to get served your ad is different, okay? Sometimes people can flow through the entirety of your Venus flytrap in hours. Sometimes people will flow through the entirety of your Venus flytrap within days or a week, okay? You want to have all steps set up at the same time when you execute these, because again, just to be very clear, usage is different per user, okay? You want to set it up for the people who go the fastest through it. Always optimize around the people who go through the fastest. Okay, now again, at scale, when you're trying to produce $1 million months with this strategy, it's most appropriate to use when somebody does not understand or does not identify as a customer for your offer yet. That's when it's most appropriate. I commonly see students inside of my Master Internet Marketing program, or even people like you who are now watching this on YouTube. You're gonna follow up with me and ask me questions on this when you start to use it, and inevitably try it for a niche that it makes no sense to do it for. I'll give you a great example. I had a student recently who was saying, hey, I'm trying to run the Venus flytrap for roofers. That's what I'm pitching people on, so therefore that's what I want to execute. And I'm like, why in the fuck would you run the Venus flytrap for roofers? Are you selling Tesla solar panel tiles that people don't know about yet? A homeowner already knows the problems of their roof, the time in which they need to replace their roof on an every 10 or 20 year cycle. They already know if they got hit by a fucking hurricane or a windstorm or hail, that they probably got damage that an insurance company can replace. I don't need to run the Venus flytrap in that scenario. I can go straight to the direct response. Hey, did you get hit by the recent hailstorm? Fill out our lead form. We'll come do a free roof inspection and represent you to your insurance company to help you out. It's I don't need to run the Venus flytrap for that. I can do direct response because the consumer already knows about it. It's if I'm selling pizza, I don't need to run the fucking Venus flytrap to sell people on the sauce and the cheese and the bread and the oven and the history of the pizza shop. I can do all that shit in a direct response ad. You see what I mean? It's again, I don't need it. People know what pizza is, okay? People buy pizza all the time. It's I don't need to run the Venus flytrap for cars. It's okay, when Tesla first came out, that might have been quite literally the only appropriate time in the history of my life that I could think the Venus flytrap would make sense for an automotive manufacturer, okay? Because again, people don't know the upsides. They have a lot of questions. They don't even know how it works. That'd be a great example of the Venus flytrap if I was marketing for Tesla at the very, very beginning of when Tesla first came out, okay? If I'm selling a fucking apartment, okay, and I'm a realtor, I don't need to run the fucking Venus flytrap. Again, anything that a consumer already has in their head, they already have data for, and or they already identify as a customer or being in market for this specific product, I do not want or need to add the additional steps and friction that the Venus flytrap creates. The Venus flytrap is intended to take non-customers, people who don't identify as being in market, people who know as the business, yes, I could help those people, but they don't know that they need my help yet. They don't know that I have what they need because they don't identify as needing it yet. This is the most cost-effective strategy to run at scale, especially for that specific scenario, okay? That's when it's most appropriate. That's when it most makes sense to use. In all other scenarios, it makes no fucking sense because you're adding friction to your advertising process by adding 3 steps where each step, the quantity of people that make it to the next step degrades by upwards of 75 to 90+% of the people not making it to the next step and stopping at the previous step, okay? So also, a few nuances here with this strategy. You want to make sure you create exclusion audiences. So anybody who watches 25% of the video, make sure to exclude that specific audience on that step. Anybody who's at video 2, you are targeting the people who watch 25% of the previous video step. And for video 2, you're excluding the people who watch 25% of video 2. For video 3, you're targeting the people who watch 25% of video 2. You're excluding the people who watch 25% of video 3. That way, just to be clear, your ads, that specific video is constantly serving to the people until they watch 25% of it. Okay, once they do, they never see it again, they go to the next video automatically. Now, for your direct response, you're targeting the people who watch 25% of video 3, okay? And then from there, you're just running standard direct response. Standard direct response nowadays in 2025 onward, this has been this way for about 2 years now. Facebook does a tremendous job at doing retargeting for you on your behalf without you having to set up a retargeting campaign for direct response now. You can do straight up broad cold advertising, and if they deem somebody as probable to convert, or that person went to the website and didn't convert, even though it's a cold campaign, it'll hammer the fuck out of that person with remarketing ads, showing them that same set of creatives again and again and again, because they're deemed as most probable to convert. So again, when you run this specific direct response, historically with the Venus flytrap, the way that I ran it, I would encourage that you have a specific direct response component for remarketing specifically. So like, okay, if somebody did not take the action, then you run direct response to encourage them to go back to the action. You don't need to do that nowadays, because again, your direct response ads that are set up to target the people who watch 25% of video 3, it'll retarget those people automatically who did not yet convert and like went to your web page or interacted with the ads, etc. Okay? Now, the Venus flytrap, highly effective. By the way, just a little side note, I named it the Venus flytrap because literally of the plant. Like the concept of a Venus flytrap is it waits for a fly to come into it, but it doesn't just close right away. It's a carnivorous plant. It doesn't just eat the fucking bug right away. It waits for these little hairs that are inside of the plant itself to get hit, for the bug to walk over that little hair. As soon as that little hair gets hit, that is when it closes. And it uses a very sweet nectar-like substance to attract these different bug species into the plant in the first place. And again, it waits for the perfect time and then it closes. That's what this is meant to emulate. Yes, when people watch 25% of video 1, they naturally become more probable to convert on our direct response ads than just seeing direct response ads if there's somebody who's appropriate to go through the Venus flytrap in the first place. Somebody who's not in market, somebody who we think they should definitely be a customer, but they don't identify as being a customer yet. Yes, they watch 25% of video 1, there's a high probability that they're gonna convert on our direct response ads anyway, at a much higher rate than just the direct response on its own. But I wanna be very clear in saying, right, just because the fly immediately landed, that doesn't mean it's time to close it yet and eat the plant. We're gonna wait until that little hair gets hit, right? That little tiny thing in there, and then we're gonna close it. That's what video 3 represents. When they finally watch 25% of that third video, that's when they trigger the hair. That's when it's time to officially eat the bug. That's when it's time to capture the customer, start hammering them with the direct response, okay? Now, when you run this at scale and you're trying to hit $1 million months with it, just keep in mind, it's most appropriate to do for like your mass market customers. It's most appropriate to do for the people that you say, that's a customer of mine. I know that that person could benefit from what I'm selling. It makes a lot of sense for them to do business with me, but that person doesn't yet identify as being one of my customers. They don't identify that they need my product or service yet. So what you have to do, you have to be running something like this, okay? I have other mass market strategies that I only teach to my students and to my inner circle members and that we execute on behalf of our clients, such as the harvester, the forester, the tornado. These are much more sophisticated content advertising strategies that are far more elaborate in the steps, the quantity of content, how many different instances they're getting hit with contextual content. But I put you on game to this one because it's my original content advertising strategy. I have an entire SOP on how it works with examples for every single step, including the content steps, the remarketing steps, and everything that you should do in between. But I only give these SOPs, again, to the people who actually pay me money. You're sitting here on YouTube learning this shit for free. You're still gonna be able to go out and take action on it. You're still gonna be able to use it. But if you want the examples, if you want the details of the SOP, if you wanna know exactly what to do, you want my accountability to help you set it up and to do it, make sure you're using it right, make sure you join into one of my offers. My Inner Circle program, twice a month one-on-one calls, weekly group calls, a group chat. You can DM me with questions on shit like this. Send me voice notes, send me looms. You're paying me money. Of course I'll review it and I'll make sure that you do it right and that you make money with it. We also do the quarterly in-person masterminds, January, April, July, and October, the top of every quarter, right here in person in Miami, Florida. We'd love to have you a part of it. You do gotta be making a lot of money though, to be fair, to join into the Inner Circle. It's for rich people only that are trying to get a hell of a lot richer. I've got my Master Internet Marketing program where I do 7 weeks of classes. 7 weeks of classes that are on average 3 to 6 hours in length with homework libraries, worksheets, worksheets to increase your retention and make sure that you go out there and get results. We commonly have business owners train their staff through the Master Internet Marketing Program while the business owners themselves are in the Inner Circle offer. And in addition to that, hey, if you're somebody that thinks you could work with us as a marketing agency, you gotta already be doing at least $100K a month in your business, preferably more. You gotta have a lot of capital to risk, upwards of $50,000+ in our first 30 days together in ad spend and service costs. There's an application below if you'd like to check that out. And finally, we have jeremyhaynes.com, which is now our blog. Every video like this, and you might find a link for this in the description, by the way, depending on when you're watching it, on this very blog, on this very video itself, we turned it into a long-form blog with videos, images, explainers, to help you digest the information in another way outside of just these videos here on YouTube. I'd really appreciate you subscribing, checking out the different offers that I just mentioned, seeing which one's most appropriate for you. Either way, do me a favor, drop a like and go check out some of my other content. Every video I have is dedicated to helping you hit $1 million months. Thank you for being here. Go out there and get richer. I'll see you soon.